We are back, or I should say Chris is back, man. How was Mexico?
Yo, we're back. We've got some bug bites. We've got some stable internet, which is really, really cool. And we're a little bit down bad on the voice, but hey, we're as back as we can be. Feels good to be back.
Yeah, man. Me and Adam had to go old school. Just with that shit, been a little while since then. But we are now a week from migration launch. How crazy is that, man? Those like 5 days leading up to that was a fucking roller coaster, to say the least.
What was the numbers you said? It was like 50% in the first day and then like 1% each day after that, something like that.
Yeah, it's been so 51, 52% the first 24 hours. And now we're sitting at almost 60%. So about 1% each day. I mean, kind of watching it to see, you know, is it people who are just kind of late, who didn't know there was a migration, or is it arbitrageurs? And I'd say it's kind of a combination of both, to be completely honest. Anytime somebody comes in with a large hustle buy, and if hustle is a higher market cap than Tensorium, then somebody will come in and basically buy like $500 worth of it, of Tensorium, and then dump it into hustle. So you could get a little bit of a little arbitrage opportunity. It's really like $50 to $100 at a time. And
$50 to $100 profit, or $50 to $100
profit.
Wow. Okay.
In profit. It's not that much. And that's why it's been kind of slow. but we're now sitting at 59.4%. So getting close to that magic number of 60. My guess was 63%. And when we did
Oh
like
yeah,
our
let's
team,
break out the numbers. Hold on, where's that number? Where did I have that written down? Somewhere. we have the entire team's numbers. What were you at? I think Chris was like 74. I was like 73.
Yeah,
But
we're
it
very
looks like
close, Adam. Very
it looks
close.
like the 60s are gonna have it.
so the numbers
No.
were
No, bro. 70.
Eric said 50%, Shannon said 60%, I said 63, Sammy said 65. That was a sandwich me right there. Raj said 70, Adam said 73, Chris said the highest, 75%.
Yeah,
So we'll
bro.
see.
The way that these things work, there's me and Adam were pretty close. The way that they work though, there's no real incentive to migrate in the middle, and there's no punishment for migrating at the end. So a lot of people migrate super early, and then like another chunk will come in at the tail end because why not? What if something happens, you know? And so like you kind of take off risk on the table from migrating last because there's no punishment and you're letting everyone else through the door. So not really surprised to not see a lot of middle activity. Expect to see like another 5 or 7% or something like that towards the end.
Oh wow, really? You expect that much, kind of like a bump at the end? So you think there are people who just set the calendar reminder and just
even if you pull it up, I haven't pulled it up today, but Jake, do you have the top holders that haven't migrated? I'm sure that there's like 3 or 4 1% holders that haven't at least.
Yeah,
so I would expect a few of those to go.
Yeah,
like some smaller holders as well. So I think
So
the low 70s is pretty close.
So Tensorium up to $1.56 million market cap.
That's cheap, bro. They gotta put respect on Hustle's name.
I know. It's that is truly a pain. Let me see. Let me go to the Explorer. We could kind of navigate this a little bit. So
you could just do it in top holders, right in deck screener.
Yeah. So we've had 400 people or so migrate. There's so in the top 10 holders, you have there's one person who has 1.7%, 1.1, 1.1, 1.02, 1, 0.8, 0.6, 0.6. That's the top 10. So actually there are some significant holders out there, holding 0.2% of supply, 0.3% of supply. That'll probably come in here at the tail end. So in the top 40, it goes from 1.7% down to 0.2% total. So I guess we'll see.
Looking good though. Even 60% is a win for everyone. So
yep. Then Pump City, I suppose, right? Is that what's supposed to happen right after this? Right. I think that's what all the people in the chat are waiting for.
I heard that there's a lot of updates, so I would assume maybe something would happen.
Oh yeah, dude. I could give everyone a little bit of an update if they want to see here. But first,
before we get into that, why don't we get into the little bit of the just the battle that's going on between Radium and Pump Fun and the Launchpad Wars. I think it's pretty
give us the 411. Give us the deets.
Well, I just think, like if you look at this chart, I think the Migrate Fun account posted it this morning. It was just the Launchpad volumes, which is very similar to what we saw with I don't know, we've seen it a couple times, this sort of chart. Saw it with the early ordinals, like where was all the trading, right? At the beginning it was all Emblem, and then some other stuff came in, and then Magic Eden finally came in and basically took most of it. But this just shows, in green is all the pump fun, and it's basically, you go back whatever a year, and it's 100% of the launches, and Believe and some other ones have kind of made little inroads, and what we have now is the bonk.fun over the last week or so has kind of had this kind of explosion, and obviously we'd all been seeing the bonk guys, Radium guys all kind of posting about it, and I think they did have one token run to multiple hundreds of millions, but it was like, I think I tweeted out, it's like, is it really running if literally like 3 dudes own all of the supply? Because like 98% of the supply was sent to that guy on Twitter, Bonk, whatever. And, the guy with the yellow robot, PFP.
Yeah,
like,
Bonk guy.
Yeah, the Bonk guy. and like, the team had the rest. So it's like literally there's like 1% of supply even out there, and it's not even trading, and it ran to hundreds of millions. But it's like, is that running, when it's all manipulated? So I don't know. But there's just kind of this launch pad war taking place. Not to say Pump Fund's going to lose, but certainly over the last couple of days, they've taken a beating for the first time, probably ever, really, since they launched.
You saw in May, Let's Bonk had a similar trajectory upwards where they took almost full market share, it looks like. Yeah, maybe they were around 40, but this time they took the majority. But, in light of this, you have Pump Fund that's doing their token launch or their ICO here, where they're going to be raising $1 billion or so at a $4 billion market cap. I guess the question is, Chris, does this position Bonk, or does this position the Bonk token as a competitor to the Pump token? Because the tokenomics of launch of Bonk Fund, which is using the Radium SDK, so just make sure people understand that, is burning Bonk every single launch lab purchase. So does that mean that Bonk and Pump token are the same thing? And what's it mean for the overall Launchpad ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that they fill similar roles. I like the Bonk token more. The Bonk token has always been like a community-owned token of Solana. It was always like used to incentivize new protocols, incentivize people to develop on the chain. And Pump is actually like the exact ethos. It was like super exploitive of Solana, took everything off chain. And so they're at odds like idealistically, but I think in similar ways. So not only is Bonk at odds with Pump like mechanically, but they are with like any other major protocol that would kind of spin up that might be extractive as well. So I think that they're in a really good position. And, I think that they've done a cool thing where they layer on different applications onto a single token. And I think that you can see a similar trajectory with something like Agent Hustle, big AI platform, layers in another application, migrate fund on top of the same token. And then you're going to have different mechanisms burning from different areas. So I think it's a really cool model rather than Pump's model where you just take Solana and you distribute it into your pockets.
I guess the question maybe some people have is like, why would you bring this up during an AI show, right? Where is the
That is interesting.
Congruencies there? As Agent Hustle launched Migrate.fund, we mentioned that, Radium was quite interested in this product. Radium, who is the top LP provider in the industry, right? When you look at kind of the ecosystem on Solana, there's really three giants that are all competing for market share. You have Jupiter's ecosystem, Pump Fund's ecosystem, and the Radium ecosystem, right? Initially, how it all started was Radium was the LP provider, right, to Pump Fund. Pump Fund did the bonding and the token issuance. Radium was the AMM and swap tool. And then Jupiter was the aggregator for more efficient trading across all of Solana. Fast forward a year and a half from now, they're all kind of doing very similar things, just with different types of products and different types of branding. You have Radium, who has their AMM swap, which still continues to be number one. They launched the LaunchLab SDK, which is the token issuance platform, which Bonk Fund uses, Boop Fund uses, and a handful of other ones, right? This was their I guess you'd say competition to Pump Fund announcing Pump Swap, which is their own kind of LP kind of ecosystem. And then Jupiter basically said, we're not going to be able to compete natively, so we're just going to go out and buy a bunch of shit to compete. And they bought a stake in Meteora, which I don't think they have the majority, but they do obviously have the influence. And they went out and bought Moonshot as well. And so Moonshot is, an on-off ramp, which neither of the other two products have. And then Meteor, which is the LP. And so Jupiter launched Jupiter Studio, which is a token issuance platform. And Moonshot came out and launched their own Launchpad as well. So you kind of have these three giants really competing against each other. And Solana really reminds me a lot more of Silicon Valley. Actually heard this in a podcast recently. I think it was like the Empire Pod or one of them, where they were saying ETH is Wall Street and Solana is Silicon Valley in terms of culture styles. And I actually kind of really resonate with that. You see that with like Ethereum, right? You have Robinhood and you have, Base. And I'm assuming you're probably going to have a lot more TradFi companies coming in and building L2s because they basically own the fee network themselves and they can customize it. And Wall Street doesn't need to be completely decentralized. They just need to be able to own logistics, where Solana really reminds me of this Silicon Valley tech competitive style, where it's just like hyper focused on growth, hyper focused on users, extremely competitive and extremely, the teams themselves have a long-term focus, but the users are very short-term focused, right? That like dopamine hit, which is very emblematic to Silicon Valley. So, what does this all mean? Why did I explain this? Well, when we launched Migrate.fun, right, you have this giant launchpad war that's happening. Migrate.fun is kind of right in the middle of all of that. And so Radium has shown quite a lot of interest in it. Obviously, you saw that Radium was engaging with the Migrate.fun account and they follow it. And so there's a lot more to come there. So I think a lot of people are kind of going to be caught off sides whenever that announcement does happen. They're going to be like, holy fuck. But the people in this chat, even with the 15 people listening and the 100 people on the live stream, just going to say there's maybe some alpha there.
I mean, it's like if you look at that chart that you had up previously where the green's all pump fun, right? And you think about it, that's all locked in the liquidity pools, right? And so being able to migrate that over to Radium is a big deal. And, would that be valuable to Radium if they could do that? Yes. Right. How do they get people motivated to do that? That's a little bit trickier. And that's where we're coming in, right? Try and make people recognize the value of doing that and how much you can actually get for your team and your project when you do that and how you can take control of the token supply again. So there's a lot of reasons to want to do it. But obviously there's selfish reasons on, the other side, right? They want your money in their pools, right? So it's interesting. It is kind of, like you said, kind of three-headed monster, which is actually great for the end consumer because you do get competition. My business brain goes to like, man, why couldn't Pump and Radium work out a deal, right? Because then you just kind of dominate. You become the almost unassailable behemoth, right? Would have seemed to have made sense, but it is what it is. Look, these guys, they're in different realms than us, right? These are, deca millionaires who make different choices because they don't have to make a choice for money, right? This is, they want to be world beaters. They may want to be billionaires, right? So they might not want a piece of the pie. They want the whole pie. So, battles will ensue. But that's good for the end user. It's kind of like OpenSea, last cycle where other competitors came in. Most weren't successful, but one was, and one basically took OpenSea to its knees and, kind of almost killed the whole industry. Right. And so, if that happens again here, you do get this kind of dispersion of mind share and dispersion of liquidity. But we'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the Solana ecosystem, it kind of reminds me of the hotel industry in Las Vegas, where at the end of the day for casinos, their goal is to get asses in rooms. Like at the end of the day, they're doing everything to fill up all those rooms. And then you have all these other incentives that are offered. Where with Solana, right, these three different companies, their goal is to get liquidity in these LPs locked so that it doesn't leave. Right. And that's kind of the idea in Vegas. You get people in the room to gamble, to go eat, to go do all these things and try to keep them there as long as possible. And
I swear to God, in Vegas, I was spending more on coffee every day than freaking the room was like $40 a night. The coffee.
Coffee was you drink 60 coffees a day, Adam. It's bro. Your coffee budget's crazy.
Yeah, all right. It's right. Once you get that surge pricing in the gift shop, that's when you realize it's all scam. But it's going to be interesting. So I recommend people to pay attention to what's going on there. There's a lot of things worked out on the background, and also I noticed that Jupiter has an AI tool now, which does not compete with anything kind of close to what Agent Hustle does. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, but our good friend Trevor King. So Farmer Joe posts about Jupiter Exchange AI, and they ask for insight on the Pups token, or Pups, I think the token. And then Trevor King comes in and says, use the Agent Hustle. And it's just like drastically a better experience. It is like bar none, like provides a lot more information. It's a lot more curated.
Oh, that's funny. I missed that.
Yeah, cool. Like clearly comparative to this. So Agent Hustle will continue to compete. You know, maybe try to get Radium to do something like that to compete. Right? You see all these different product lines out and about. So without that, you know, some Agent Hustle updates. We mentioned 59.4% migrated. We'll see where that ends in a week from now. We do actually have, you know, V3 coming out here pretty shortly, which maybe I'll share a little bit here for people who are kind of watching. Basically a brand new experience.
Looking good.
Dude, it is sweet, dude, to look at this. It is. We've got all kinds of new features coming, like a toolbox that you can see with the different types of tools that you have. The conditional engine with different types of prompts that are coming in there. Signing in with X, subscription service, all kinds of stuff coming there. So make sure.
Just crazy to see that that's where it is now. We started that in like November, right? And I mean, like the full stack is insane. And, you know, you see it on the timeline, like with that Farmer Joe post, like people are just kind of at awe with the novelty of searching for information on a project that they know about or care about or, you know, possess or whatever it would be. They don't know that there's like so much more depth with conditional trading and things of this nature, and how advanced it's going to be in another 6 months. The first 6 months is the hardest because you have to actually build the integrations of every single thing. You have to build the, you know, the core of it, then you build the integrations, and then it's kind of off to the races. So just know that it, you know, it's the timeline gets shorter for pushing out so many more integrations as time goes forward.
Yeah. Yep. That's like see with Radium and them, you just push out all kinds of new shit all day, every day, which is pretty wild. Moving into the overall ecosystem themselves, Hustle was updated, thankfully, on Cookie Fund. Took a few days, but
he's looking good there. Look at him,
looking good. And he's like the mindshare hasn't gone down. There was a question. There was a question that we had of, you know, how much of the token that the TNSR token is affecting the mindshare, because it also shares the same ticker with Tensor, the NFT platform. Turns out not much of a difference, to be completely honest. Like Hustle's still there grinding with its unique token. No other product or popular product has the same ticker. Continues to be in the top 5 of mindshare consistently. Even if you go over to the Yaps leaderboard, I was looking at the 6-month mindshare on Kaido, and you can see here that Agent Hustle, I think, is number 4 now. It was number 10 yesterday. So number 4.
Wow.
In 6-month mindshare. How crazy is that? That means he's literally the 4th most talked about agent in the entire industry. Let's see.
And
so
I
if we go over,
like everybody knows about him.
yeah, right.
Right. It's like I still feel, you know, it's so funny. Like I just don't think agents are being used yet. Right. It's like I think we're at that stage where we understand the benefit. And I mean, dude, all you got to do is obviously, because we're connected, we're following them because they're in the Hustle community. But Hustle picking winners. I mean, he picked another winner yesterday. I found him. It was like the nothing token, which was like a derivative of that other token. It ran to like $2 million. You know, Hustle called it at like 100K or something yesterday, and people were buzzing about that. But I mean, that's just like, that's the 50 guys who are in, you know, the Telegram on a daily, right? It's just not the wider ecosystem yet. I still see like KOLs talking about Griffin and shit. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing here, bro? We have like working product here. And like you just said, with Farmer Joe tweeting that out, it's like, you know, there's so many people to educate still on what's happening.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a shame, but it'll all come around at some point as we continue to expand some of the products here. So if you look at Mindshare, Bankers, this is for the DeFi AI kind of sector. Banker is still sitting at number 1. I wonder if it's still overall. So Virtuals is number 1 overall, Banker's number 2, and Cookies number 3, Fartcoin number 4 in terms of mind share across all AI products. Still kind of crushing it. Moving into kind of new products, or I guess ecosystems. Finally got the follow back from the Banker founder the other day. Came in. Let's see if I could try. I tried messaging him again. I saw he just went on a show the other day.
He'll message you. I DM with him. He's okay.
Dude, I was trying get him on the show. I've been trying to get him. I've tried DMing him like 3 times.
Shows, man. No,
he just went on one.
Oh,
I literally just saw a post. Yeah, I was watching it yesterday.
All right, I'll reach out again then. I thought
he's anon though, which is fine. Actually, unique story. I didn't know this. I was listening to part of the podcast. The Banker token, I didn't know this. So the Banker token was not even launched by him. It was launched by Emily.
Yeah, no, they got screwed a bit. Maybe we should migrate them, bro. They did. They like bought it. They did almost like Arthur. They had to buy in, and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the kind of story is that Banker was on Farcaster, and then Emily basically asked BankerBot, if you were to launch a token, what would the token be called? And it said BNKR, and it launched the token using Clinker, which is that's the launch pad on Base. And then the deployer basically realized that the token was there, and so he went as fast as he could to try to acquire as much as possible before it kind of took off. But I think because they did this, though, the MFers community just like completely adopted it. I think that's kind of really its biggest benefit there, is that you have a decentralized community who's just basically fully backing the token because they got in early, and that's what keeps the mind share there. I think without that, like MFers kind of adoption, probably would not be in its spot to where it is today. But they are growing.
I think Emily is the biggest winner of this cycle, bro. He launched like the 2 biggest tokens on Base, dude. It's so funny, man. What a smart guy, dude. Smart guy.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is, so we're building a conditional engine, and they are as well, and it looks actually very similar to what we have. So I think it's really just us and them now at this point in time for conditional engine. You could see here they call it automated actions. We call it conditional engine. It's essentially kind of the same idea here. You can see it says, one of them says generate TA for Banker and submit 4 orders based on the 1-hour candles. That is something that Agent Hustle can do as well. And I've tested it to see. But they have a really cool kind of interface here on how to go about it. So outside of that, they did integrate leverage trading into Banker bot as well. So you could take leverage trades on ETH, BTC, and Sol, which is pretty cool. I forget what system they're using on the back end. I saw a protocol that they had announced saying that they were going to do it. But yeah, and then they're also launching their API service where you can get, I believe it's like you could get the amounts and values for each wallet that exists. So you could basically use their API and see how much value has been airdropped to Atom on Solana, Polygon, Base, and I think Avalanche maybe. I think those are like the 4 that they have kind of integrated, which is pretty cool. And yeah, they're kind of grinding. Chris, I'll ask you, have you been following Banker? What's your perspective on it? And also very similar kind of direction we are doing, just in a little bit of a different implementation.
Yeah, I think that what they've done so far is incredible. It's good that they're on Base and we're on Solana, and then we're kind of like the 2 kind of building in the same direction. I think it's more validation that is like the correct direction to be in. And I think that they've just had a cool story. They really leveraged the NFT communities, which is a smart idea. Big groups of holders to use their protocol. They had the novelty of launching tokens and buying tokens on the timeline, which is a really good kind of social benefit. They really added to like their virality over time. And I just think that they went viral first, and then they're following up with tech. We kind of went tech first, and then are kind of following it up more so in the virality on the back end of this. with maybe some campaigns that would be starting soon after we finish migration. So I think that just the order that they've been building is a little bit different than we have, but I think we're building in the same direction. And I think the more people building in this space, the better. So it's good to see.
I love I think the biggest thing for them is the biggest win has been integration in the Coinbase app. I think that's huge. Although I haven't used it. Have either of you guys used it in the?
I don't use Coinbase app.
Yeah,
or Coinbase wallet.
but I might just do it just to see what it's like to use Banker in there. But I do think, I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, what would be the one thing? Like, we get the call from, Joe Lubin, who's like, I need you guys in MetaMask, right? I need hustle in MetaMask. Like that seems like a huge win or directionally correct.
But I mean, the equivalent of that on Solana would be Phantom, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so,
yeah, absolutely.
Like the trajectory is there. You can kind of see it all playing out, and it's still so early. And like I said, like all these teams need these platforms, and not all of these teams are capable or even willing to build these platforms. So whether it's MMA or just deep partnerships all across the board, there's only a handful left, guys. There's only a handful left of these DeFi AI teams left that are actually building anything. And
I was going to say, did you see today on the timeline, there were a couple of more mergers, OpenSea bought Rally. I don't know if you saw that today.
That was actually interesting. Rally was the social token platform, right?
Yep. And so, it's all happened. I think there's just, and I saw a couple of other just people getting off teams and stuff like that. People moving. It's definitely like it's moving season, feels like, for sure.
I love it, right? That positions us pretty well. Positions a lot of the builders, a lot of M&A that's really been happening here. And the slow bleed between all of the other DeFi protocols. I mean, I went through the list the other day because I was messaging teams who launched on Pump Fund to see if they wanted to use Migrate.fun. And dude, it is ghost town. So many abandoned accounts, so many just ghost products. There's really like 10, like across all the chains that are left.
Bro, it's funny because I've been DMing too, right? And normally, almost always, if somebody makes a post and I'm the only person who replies to their post and been like, hey, I sent you a DM. Could you check your DMs? 100% of the time I get a DM back, right? Ghost towns, bro. I mean, I think they're like just putting out, they're not even like, they're just tweeting for show, but there's nobody actually there. There's nobody behind the wheel. Yeah. There's a lot of dead products.
Such is the case across a lot of crypto sectors themselves. One team still building though, which has kind of found their direction, is Hayanon. They have really been growing in this kind of CFI AI expansion, which seems to be what they're kind of calling it now, CEFAI. They integrated like Binance APIs and a lot of these centralized exchange APIs. And then they had their HUD integration, which is the web extension tool that basically sets take profit, stop loss areas for the user. Maybe it executes automatically. I'm not really sure. But this seems to be the lane that they're really kind of going down. Maybe that's where they're getting a lot of traction. Although on a side news, I saw yesterday that on-chain trading volume is now at 40% compared to centralized exchange volume, which is at 60%. So that on-chain economy is continuing to grow. So it might not, like, they're about to overtake the exchanges here pretty soon. But this is where Hanon's going and just continuing to grow, carve out their niche. They integrated Bybit API recently. They integrated, looks like Jupiter Perps integration, and continuing to grow. There's still the question though of are they adding too much at a time? This is something that we've talked about. They now have, right, they integrated into Arena. Their founder Danielle was launching all kinds of meme coins. There's like 20 meme coins or coins that they're launching. And do you think it's too confusing to users, or does he just know his degen community who's just moving in and out of tokens and moving in and out of positions so quickly that it doesn't even matter, how long, it doesn't matter that he's launching new tokens and that they're integrating all these products. They just go in and out of these products quite quickly.
Part of me thinks that it's actually kind of genius if you can get away with it, which is you just launch infinite stuff, and 98% of it, 99% of it nothing happens with it, but you just keep launching. You just keep going, and as long as the timeline doesn't completely wreck you, you can keep doing that until something hits, and almost certainly something. I mean, he's building in a space where something's going to hit. But I mean, just the number of we're like, oh my God, he launched a second token. Oh my God. We're freaking out. Like, how could he? Not only did he launch a second, he launched a third and a fourth and a fifth and then a sixth. And then he had the AIs launching the tokens, his infinite fucking tokens, and we're here like, what the fuck? We think our careers would be over. And here he is. He's moved on and moved, just swipe it away and launch on, these exchanges. So I think it's a different approach. It's actually, if I didn't have the kind of my moral father sitting in the back of my head going, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't, if I didn't have that, I'd probably do it too. Because the reality is it gives you so many more swings of the bat, to find something that works. And I don't think he's found it yet. I think they're building something legit though. They're super, super legit, and he's legit. But whether or not they'll ever, like, the end users have got to be completely confused as to what's going on, how to use this, what is it? It's too much for the end user. But I actually think it's a pretty good strategy on his part to try and find the thing that actually moves the needle, right? I think it's actually pretty smart.
Chris, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're crushing it. They're kind of on ETH. We're on Solana. Bankers on Base. Pretty good segments from all different airways. Bitcoin is still up for grabs. I don't think anyone has the wherewithal to expand on Bitcoin, and so when we do, I think that's a big differentiator for us. But as far as like the way that they're building and the pace that they're shipping at, it's obviously very impressive. And it still kind of shows how like slow the industry is to move, right? Like they still have a pretty small community. It's not a ton of people using their product every day. It's probably in similar position of how many users we have every day, maybe a little bit more. And that's with all of their shipments that they're doing. And so, we'd rather ship kind of really substantive stuff. Like I think we're going with bigger shipments at a slower speed, and they're going with smaller shipments at a faster speed. I don't know which one is right and which one's wrong. That's kind of just what it seems to me. But I think just at the end of the day, I just have the same thesis as I do with Banker, that these AI in general is going to be the biggest industry in the world. I'm dead positive that's a fact. I can't be convinced otherwise at this point. And the crypto industry is so nuanced that none of the traditional players from AI know how to build anything in crypto. And even if they did know how to build things in crypto, they wouldn't know what to build or what crypto users would want. So I think that everyone building in crypto AI right now that's building substantive products has like 100x lead on anyone that is even thinking about it or that might think be something in the future. I just think that there's nothing that open AI can do to build in crypto. I don't even know if anyone would want to use that product. It's like the antithesis of crypto. The most centralized company ever building in crypto seems kind of unidealistic to me. So I just think that the crypto AI sector is just such an opportunity. It's so ripe for just so much opportunity. And if there's only five,
there's only like 3 of us.
There's only five legit teams building here. I mean,
it's crazy, man.
Go ahead, let that happen. The more every day that passes, the Hustle platform gets better, the Banker platform gets better, and the Hanon team gets better. So just our lead increases, and no one's even woken up to it. So I'm stoked at where we're at.
So as we've been, as we've been having this conversation, it looks like there is a new Hustle partnership announced by Blormy. Look at that artwork. That works pretty good. I actually pinned it to the top of the space. If you are looking, they had reached out to us recently about their product, Blormy, which I actually wasn't kind of familiar with. So if you are in the space, make sure that you repost it. That is some kind of cool artwork. I was looking into this the other day when they had reached out, and it's kind of similar to an Agent Hustle product on themselves, where it's like an AI kind of swap tool, but they're going in like more of this kind of curated direction. So it says Blormy is your best friend to do anything on chain. Blormy makes on chain easy. Use Blormy wherever you are. X, Telegram, Discord. No more extra tabs or endless clicks. And you can kind of get signed up pretty easily. You just go in with, your X account, and you can go into this very similar interface. So it is kind of a very similar product to, Banker, like Agent Hustle, and they just wanted to come in and kind of partner together. So it says that it's a Solana AI agent for swaps, and you can tweet on the timeline. So go show the product some love. And it's always just cool to work with fellow AI products. That's how we are. We're not very territorial at all. I think that you should always be looking for partnerships and integrations of some type.
Yeah, I did tweet at it trying to get my, ask him what my address was. It seemed to get a little confused, but I'm going to dive into it today, see what's up. I don't know if it's so. Is this basically they're doing what Banker's kind of doing, where you're going to interface with it on X? Is what I assumed. That's what it kind of looked like to me.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you could do it on X. You could do it in Discord. So it's just like a multi-platform agent. So it's a DeFi AI product. And it looks like they're being a little bit kind of aggressive in a strategy that we do, where you're just trying to work with other AI agents and products to kind of work together, right? I mean, we could easily go one by one like this to all the different AIs and say, hey, here's a partnership. We're listing your token within our platform. But it seems like they're being a lot more cooperative than some of these other ones. Some of these other founders that I have to literally DM 50 times to see if they'll come on our show. But shout out to Blormy. Make sure that you give it a repost. Just great to see more builders and developers in the DeFi AI sector. It continues to add more credence to what we're doing. Giving a move over to Wayfinder, who had a really hot token start. Is kind of maybe falling behind in the attention per se. They are also building an autonomous trading system like our conditional engine. They're still in beta, which I think is kind of why no one really talks about it. If it's not open to everybody. But here's a post, or here's kind of like a little preview to show they have like I think they call it like a developer agent. So there's like 5 or 6 different agents on their platform that all do different types of things. You can obviously buy X stocks on here, which they're kind of showing, which you could do with Agent Hustle as well. So not really anything crazy in terms of the integrations. Kalos follows me, who's one of their co-founders. Oh, so here's the agent. So they have a transaction agent, a perps agent, a contract agent, an autonomous agent. So I think you click on each one of these to do the different types of systems. Right? This gets kind of this goes kind of like an opposite direction of what we want. Although I'm starting to understand that the more complex you get with these agentic systems, it is a little bit better to kind of categorize them like this, versus where Griffin had like 50 different agents. That just gets too confusing. You want to be more specific, right? So if you want to do perps, this is it. If you want to deploy contracts, you could click on this. We'll kind of see until I
love our direction, man.
Yeah.
I just don't think the average user's never going to work in that direction.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, a professional trader or somebody this is their full-time deal, of course, but that's not real people. Real people want to go in our direction, which is you're interfacing with one agent. There may be multiple kind of layers below the surface, but you hide that from the end user. I just think we're completely directionally right in that kind of way of looking at the tech. I think these guys are 100% wrong.
Yeah. And when you think of the future, you think it's type to transact and eventually talk to transact. And when doing it their way, it's just too siloed. You're not able to do that so seamlessly. Yeah. So, you're going to be sitting in your office reviewing data, and you're going to say hustle, load up a perp trade 10x on X asset, blah, 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 and just going to submit the transaction. You're not going to have to select the agent that's going to do it for you. So just like going too many extra steps for
100%.
where I think that the future is heading, and I think that we're kind of building in the right direction.
Yes, we are. And to check in on Griffin still hasn't tweeted since April.
I'm going to ask if Griffin
How is it they have so much mind share? Is that just people tweeting mad hate at him or what?
All right, let's kind of see. So if I put in, I think it's GR.
That's their mind share strategy. Just tweet at us to tell us to tweet.
So let's see. So it's griffin.com. Yeah, I don't know what's really going on in there. Their market maker is still putting in a lot of work, I suppose. So you see these a lot. Can you all kindly please update the Griffin token holders on the status of your project? It's been a month, and you go through these and you kind of see this just consistently. Right, this looks great. Gonna try it in action. That's kind of like a bot. But people just consistently asking. This one says, "I hope the dev is in jail with gay latte with their gay latte." And so people are just curious.
Yeah, you were supposed to be able to buy coffee with the Griffin, right? That was the main thing. Coffee rewards, bro. It's fun. This is fun stuff.
Very random.
What's AIXBT say about him?
He says, "Dump unlucky and future-proof, stack more geode, Durpin bags." I don't know if that was about Griffin, but yeah, I mean, I kind of get like the perspective of sometimes a builder. You're like, dude, I need to go all in right now. I can't talk with anyone. The CT ecosystem is clouding my brain, so I'm going to go heads down and build. But once you do that for 3 months and you don't update, it's going to be hard to come back. Although people are still trading the token because there's liquidity. So at the end of the day, if the volume is still going, then maybe it might not even matter. If the person's not tweeting or not. I mean, Zero Bro is still at $30 million and there's literally no account. The founder literally exit scammed and people are still trading the shit, right? So at the end of the day, you're kind of curious on.
Make it make sense, Jake. Make it make sense, bro.
Are exit scams bullish? Is that what it's
like? Nothing better than the founder faking his death.
That is, yeah.
So crazy, bro. So crazy.
I think you mentioned something in there though. Pretty update from last week that was announced. All these tokenized stocks that are happening, and those aren't going to trade on traditional legacy platforms. And number one, they don't trade 24/7. So they're going to trade on crypto native rails. They're going to use crypto native AIs because they're tokenized stocks. So I think that's just a huge catalyst that nobody really even kind of factored into their kind of thesis. And that's like the biggest industry in the world, right? Tokenized RWAs, tokenized stocks, tokenized lending markets, and it's just all coming on chain. So it's more than just meme coins, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it is. One product I want to cover that is in the AI category, although I think they've kind of shied away from it a little bit, is Rexcoin, which is from OSF. Did you guys dive into this at all?
Sure.
No.
Adam, what's your thoughts on it? I mean, it's just, by the way, like if you look at Cookie.fun, it's still classified as Rect Guy AI, which is at $152 million market cap, but it doesn't seem like they are going into AI as much as they had previously attempted.
I mean, he's basically trying to build a soda brand, right? Good for him. It's really fucking hard to do. I think the coin is what it is. It's completely. He probably owns 98% of the supply. I don't know. It's a bit of it is what it is. The guy's trying to build a brand. And I give him credit for putting in that effort and that work. Really hard to do. The drink space. I mean, Chris probably knows it's really fucking
hardest
hard
in the world.
So yeah, I mean, my wife's in cosmetics. I think that's the hardest in the world. Drinks are probably number 2. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. For drinks, you need refrigerated shelf space, and they're very limited throughout all of convenience and grocery stores. So refrigerated items are the hardest to get into.
But he's trying to leverage, crypto and all the rest of it to try and get that. I mean, this really is, you have to be a marketer, like the best of the best. And, you know, do I think it'll work? Probably not, just because almost none of it does, you know, but he's given a good shot at it. I don't think the token, I don't know why it's even in the AI kind of space at all, because I don't think it has anything to do with AI.
Yeah, there was originally, so it was originally Rect Guy AI, I think was like the account. Yeah, so here's the account.
But he was like a social bot, right? Timeline bot, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's like a timeline bot. Looks like it's not even really consistently tweeting. It's just putting out his art. It looks like he was tweeting multiple times per day up until May 17th, and then it looks like it was turned off, and it's had one tweet since then.
The AI is getting tired too. He's taking a nap.
I thought AIs were supposed to work 24/7, bro.
He's taking a little break as well.
He's taking a break from
taking
doing the
a
AI. It's funny how that AI doesn't really kick out like that.
Yeah, it says it's classified as an art and AI project celebrating Rect culture. The one thing that he did though is that he kept the same token throughout all of these different projects, which now Rect coin is a brand coin, which you are kind of starting to see these different branded type coins. This is kind of getting out of the AI talk, but on Solana you have the content coins, which like Soul Jakey has for his like based house. I don't know if you've seen that. Like it's a coin that represents all these people living in essentially like a social media house or content house, and they're trying to figure out different ways to, I guess, pump the token or use it in different types of ways. Is it a meme coin? Is it utility coin? You don't really know. I know Rasmer was trying to do this, as well as Gainsey on Pump Fun. And I don't know. I guess that's kind of the question is, you know, it's a new segment. It's not a new segment. I mean, social coin's been attempted for 10 years at this point. It just gets repackaged, right? Speaking of Rally was kind of like the big company last cycle in 2021, 2022 that was taking on the social coin adventure, as they were kind of like a social token launchpad, I guess you could say, or an incubator. But now people are starting to try to do this individually. I mean, I don't know if it'll work.
I saw a big space with, actually it was with the Rect guys and a couple others were discussing, going into details about how they truly believe that these are like these kind of social tokens around businesses, or brand tokens are like the way forward. Honestly, I don't see it. I don't get it. Like, if you're not going to provide some value back to the token, you know, where whatever revenue from selling the sodas buys the token back or something like that. I feel like these are basically a race to zero. You know, you know, even the Michael Jordan coin, do I really want to hold it? I don't give a shit. I only want the Michael Jordan coin to go up. And if it doesn't go up, well, fuck that. I mean, at least like Gainsey and I kind of like what the Pump Fund guys are trying to do. That they're trying to basically create a streaming platform, right? And so you stream and then you have a token attached. And if some crazy shit happens where Gainsey's getting fucking bombed, you know, during the middle of the show, token price can go up like that. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting, because it's like it's a pure attention token, and this dude can get some attention. Like I kind of get, but I honestly do not get the kind of idea of just a you know, a business social token. Doesn't ring for me. But I could be wrong, but it certainly doesn't ring for me.
Chris, what's your take on the content / brand coins that are starting to emerge on Solana?
I mean, they've been worked on forever. I think they will work at some time, you know, because like there's an incentive structure that will work. It's easier to have the distribution first and then layer on the incentive structure. Like it's much easier to have a Red Bull token and then incentivize people to buy Red Bulls through different incentive structures, rather than have the soda and then I don't know what you do with the token. I don't know. I don't know the system that they're using. I guess.
I mean, maybe it is like maybe what you're saying that could work, right? So I mean, that's what these guys were saying, was like, it can become this kind of coupon system for the brand, right?
That's what they do anyways with like merch, and they do it with kind of like those sweepstakes that they've been doing. And now you bring it all in house digitally through an incentivized token. And I think that that's like, I've always thought that that was a market. You know, me and Jake talked about this last, I don't know, 8 years ago or whatever it was at this point in time. You know what I mean? So it's just like, at some point it will work. I don't know. It's just so hard. It's easier to layer on the token after you have the distribution, in my opinion, rather than try and build them all at the same time, because attention is, you know, it's hard to follow, and you kind of disrupt yourself with, is it a token business? Is it a soda business? Is it an NFT business? But I think that some of those guys made some serious money in the NFT run. Those Rect guys. I forget who the CEO is, but I think that they're pretty well capitalized, and
OSF and
really well
Mondo.
capitalized. What's his name?
OSF and Mondo, right?
Yeah, I think that they made some pretty solid cash. To go into the kind of consumer products market, you have to have serious cash, because you have to have inventory, and then you have so much lead time between when you stock your inventory to when it gets to the end customer. So your kind of supply chain is really backed up, and the amount that you get paid is really backed up. So a lot of headwinds in that industry, but if anyone could do it, maybe they could do it.
I'm just wondering though, tell me how this works, right? Like I get crypto, right? And I understand, but crypto, we want that meme coin to go up 500%, 1,000%, 10,000%, right? Well, if it's just a social rewards program or like a coupon code thing, like I'm not interested in that at all. I just want to be able to get my t-shirt with the rewards, right? I just don't see how those two like play together. Like
I just think that people love these lifestyle brands. They get obsessed with them. Like people love Supreme. People love Nike, or, you know, whatever it would be, name, fill in the blank, Alpha Elite. They just love these brands. They become kind of like, it becomes a kind of their personality. And so they wear it every single day. Why wouldn't they fill their, maybe they'll exchange their bank account for it. I don't know how much they like it. They kind of do that already, right? They exchange all of their money.
It worked a little bit last cycle with NFTs, right? That certainly played out a little. People were very interested in the Nike NFTs or the Adidas NFTs, right? But the companies didn't figure out how to actually properly work that over time.
And like Trump has some good things going on where you can have dinners with him, and then if like you buy the most of it,
kind of dude, yeah.
And then you have like the best, you know, like if you buy $60 million of it, then you get a pardon, a full pardon. Like that's like that's what I'm talking about. Okay, that's how you do it. If anyone has the distribution of the pardons,
I'm telling you, Trump is the greatest NFT creator of all time, man. He's like, right? He's even above Gary Vee, I think.
But you can see all these things like linking together. I don't know the exact way that they do, but there's something for sure there.
Yeah, when I think of rewards coins, I think of like what has been the best reward system and most viral reward system in the world, and I think it's air mile points or flight points. Like I would say that's by far probably the most internationally popular. And so how does crypto kind of bring that system into or I guess how do you bring that type of system into crypto and have a lot of success? And well, it's a little bit go ahead.
I was going to say to that exact point, airline miles, the best one ever. I actually met the guy who managed it, was this airline called Baltic Air, where they did these NFTs called Planies. And if you owned, you know, there were different tiers, but if you own the highest tier, you know, you were getting 10 miles per day in like automatic rewards. And people loved it, fucking loved it, and traded them and all the rest. Bought multiples to have the double XP, triple XP, get all these rewards. And I just saw it. They closed it down like a month ago. So even one that was relatively successful, the company itself, it became an expense and wasn't, you know, providing those. I think like airlines, yeah, they want to attract and keep the best clients, but they don't want it to actually like cost them money, right? These are like, so I don't know. It's a real. All I'm trying to say is it's a really, really tough challenge to make this thing, you know, keep this flywheel alive. Really, really tough.
I don't know how he did it, but like that Rex guy, he sold like 700,000 cans of that soda. You know that?
I saw that. Yeah, it was sold out in like multiple levels.
Like I didn't look into it because I was like, all right, but I don't know, maybe one guy bought 500.
Did he buy 600,000 himself?
They got a market maker for energy.
You wonder.
I don't want to say that that's what happened or something like that, but you know, I didn't look into it. But there's some incentive structure, obviously, to get these people to buy the cans, right? Because someone bought some cans for whatever reason. So I don't know if they get the token, they get the can. You buy 700,000 tokens, you get a can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday, and then I'm gonna call on AI Christ right after this. Yesterday I hopped on a call. It was a friend's referral, a friend who he's been working 30 years at a multi-trillion-dollar asset manager that's a very gigantic company. And he basically said, the reason why I'm calling is that, we're very far behind the crypto stuff. And I've been put on the crypto team for this company, and we're just trying to reach out to anyone we know knowledgeable to learn about things. And we literally sat and talked about reward tokens for probably 10 or 15 minutes of the hour-long conversation, right? Because even for these traditional, asset managers, they're thinking about, if we launch a token, what do we even do with it? Right? Like, it's kind of the question. Also, of course, of like how to integrate and different things like that. And so, yeah, I was kind of explaining the difference between like a utility token versus a meme coin versus XYZ thing. And at the end of the day, he was just like, oh, so it's all just like the incentives to use the token. I was like, yeah, that's literally like the entire point of it, is you have to basically create this structure around it. Because he was like, I don't get it. What's the difference between the technology of a meme coin versus this infrastructure token? I was like, there is no technology difference. It's literally just how it's used. It's like, oh, so it's like rewards, like airline miles. I was like, yeah, it's just like airline miles. It's like your Starbucks gift card, right? The only difference is that anyone could come in and buy the points off the secondary market is the only difference. So I think that will be, brand coins or whatever will probably come in at some point. I was super big in 2021 when Chris and I were doing native research. I was like super into social tokens. I was like, we're super want to do it, but still might be
cycle away, man. It's just a cycle away. Oh, I mean, it's kind of happening this cycle. It's kind of, but
there's much more attempts at it.
Sure.
AI Christ, thanks for coming on. Do you have a question or comment on the conversation?
Yeah. Hi, Jake. Thanks for that little point. I just joined recently, so I just heard a little bit there about the airline miles and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty retarded when it comes to DeFi, and I just saw this space and I wanted to hop in and ask a pretty obvious question, because like I have worked with people who use crypto for many years. I've occasionally held a few Solana tokens and stuff. The best way I've heard it explained to me was it's basically like converting social capital to like actual capital. And it's a pretty simple question. Like, what is the blockchain? Can someone explain it to me? It might be a simple question, but
sure. You want to take this one?
Sure. Basically, the blockchain, depending on which one you're using, but a blockchain at its core, it's just a decentralized database of digital items at the most basic level. And sometimes those items are like NFTs, right? So like a CryptoPunk. And some of those times the item is a digital fungible item like a Bitcoin or a Solana token. And so the best public blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum are really decentralized and nobody controls them. It gets a little bit grayer when you start moving into these other blockchains like Solana or I don't know, Arbitrum or all these other ones where it's like, is it really decentralized or is it controlled by a couple guys in San Francisco? Right. So what the space is all about is kind of leaning into these decentralized ledgers that can't be manipulated or controlled by individuals or governments. But that's what we're kind of all working for. But basically, a blockchain is you can own digital items. That's basically what it is. Does that make sense? You're on mute, man.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, but we've had databases and we have had digital ownership long before blockchain. So I just don't understand.
Think about it for a sec, though.
Sorry.
So yeah, no, it's cool. Think about it for a sec, though. So you own a digital item, right? You own them. The easiest one is gaming to explain. So you own a Fortnite skin, right? The reality is, though, you don't actually own that Fortnite skin. That skin is owned by Epic Games, and They allow you to hold that skin and use that skin. But if you've ever played games or know gamers, you know that those skins can be taken from you. Your account can be taken from you, and those skins themselves can be taken from you. So you've never, until Satoshi launched Bitcoin, you've never actually been able to own digital items. Digital items could always be taken from you. Blockchain allows those digital items to be owned personally. Does that make sense? Meaning the digital item, the CryptoPunk in my wallet, literally no human, no government, no anybody in the universe can take that from me. It's impossible mathematically. While one that's owned by Fortnite, they can definitely, and they do, take those from you.
Well, I've just heard a lot of stories about Bitcoin assets being seized, and like I don't understand how.
So what that
Yeah,
means is
sorry.
what that means is if you hold a gun to my head, I can choose to give you those items or not. If I choose not to, and you shoot me and you kill me, you still don't have those items. For every physical item on Earth, when that gun is held to my head and I decide not to give it to you, you kill me, you actually get the item, right? But not with blockchain items. You can, wrench it. We call it a wrench attack in crypto. You can wrench attack me, and I could choose to, give you the passphrase to my wallet and give it to you. But if I don't, there's literally nothing you can do to get those items. Does that make sense?
I understand it like that a lot of blockchains can work that way, but from what I've seen about like these central exchanges and wallets is that practically is not the case.
So what a centralized exchange is that's why we say in crypto, there's an old saying, which is not your keys, not your coins. What that means is the moment you give your Bitcoin to a centralized exchange, you literally transfer ownership to that exchange and they hold it for you. Right. So yeah, they can rug you and they can take it from you, but you've chosen to give it to them. Right. So yeah, you're giving over ownership. And that's why in crypto, we never recommend storing anything on an exchange for a long period of time, because you've literally given up ownership, right, of that item.
I don't want to start an argument, but I'll just say one last thing about it, which is that I just haven't been convinced by this argument, because in practice, it seems like government, at the end of the day, if someone holds a gun to your head, that's the ultimate worth of value. I mean, like, that's why the US dollar has value, is because it's backed by the US military, the US government, US Treasury. It seems like that Bitcoin, at the end of the day, they just use things like legislation. They use things like buying power, these big institutions which are buying and holding crypto. They use it to manipulate market prices, to control exchanges. Like in New York State, they have the bill that was passed about I think it's called like the Bit Bill or some, I forget the name, but basically it just regulates these industries. So it's basically illegal. You can't purchase off of these exchanges and stuff where you have or at least it's very difficult. And so for me, it's always seemed like, honestly, a big pyramid scheme where a bunch of people control it, and then they regulate it and use guns and other means of force to kind of just get a globalist economic system. So it's even less agency than the US dollar, because it's accountable to international agents.
Yeah, you've just touched on.
That's all I'll say about that.
You're absolutely right. You are not wrong in noticing that. And there's a small group of people who believe in kind of the true ethos or the first ethos of Bitcoin, which is decentralizing themselves away from banks and Wall Street and governments. What we've had this cycle is a leaning into Wall Street and governments and presidents to try and get them elected to be pro Bitcoin and integrate Bitcoin into Wall Street and to traditional finance in order to pump the price of Bitcoin so they get more wealthy. So you are absolutely not wrong in that Bitcoiners themselves have manipulated governments and Wall Street in order to pump the price of Bitcoin. You're 100% correct. Know that there is a small group of people who still hold true to the ethos of, Bitcoin originally, which was decentralized cash outside of the control of governments, or Wall Street. So you've entered into crypto, man. These are the great debates that happen. But know that at the core, decentralized ledgers, when humans, if they ever choose, can have decentralized money outside of government control. We can do that at any time. We just have to want it. That's all.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we'll wrap it up for today. I appreciate everyone who joined us. Please make sure you follow the Emblem Vault account and Agent Hustle, our two projects, as we have been discussing. Also, make sure you follow everyone on stage so that you can continue to follow the world and participate with our agentic future. On Thursday, we do have the flagship CEO, I believe, is still supposed to be coming on. And we'll have a good conversation there. If you haven't migrated your hustle, make sure that you go ahead and
do it now, guys. Do it now.
Do it now. Had somebody reach out the other day and they're like, how much longer do we have to migrate hustles? Like 8 days. They're like, that time is so short. I was like, do it right now. Like, what are you waiting on? Do it. What are you waiting on? It takes literally 10 seconds to do. Not even joking, literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the process is done. And we're going to continue to grow. I continue to pay attention. Lots of things in the works. And until then, we'll see everybody on Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Later, guys.